Welcome back, guys, to Out of Battery Not So Live tonight. It's Bitplum and Cape, and we have one of the Utica gun buyback champions, Kim. How's it going tonight, man?
Oh my God, it's great. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. We saw the post on Twitter, and we'd been in
Yeah, everybody
contact with.
did.
Yeah, we're in contact with Cobra Economics, and he reached out and said, "Hey, this guy wants to interview," and we said, "So do we," and here we are.
So before we talk about anything else, what is going on with your camera setup right now? Like, what are we looking at?
I admit that what I did in Utica may or may not put me on some kind of watch list. So to avoid showing my face, but still showing you what I did, I'm currently in Neos VR, which is a cool little VR social platform that allows me to do cool stuff that we will see in just a minute.
And what is this avatar? Are you like a bird?
I don't know, man. This is like the first furry avatar I could find.
Okay.
And this is the only one I've got. So,
the bird plus John and Lennon glasses are a good combo.
The glasses
man.
Can come off if it's an issue.
Dude, that's sick. All right, you're selling me on the VR avatars thing, dude.
I'm happy I can be a salesman for you.
Okay, how did you get into 3D printing?
Control Pew, actually. I had seen the 3D printing stuff and I thought it was cool, but it wasn't until I discovered Control Pew that I was like, I need an Ender 3. Like, I need one. I saw what Ivan was doing, Ivan the Troll. I saw what Deterrence Dispensed was doing. I saw an Anderson Wildfire video, and I was like, I need to have this. So I got it as a gift for Christmas, and my ex-girlfriend was nice and bought me one of these. And I did a couple of little prints here and there, but I didn't really get it started until I heard about what was going on in Utica.
So when you say you got into it through Control Pew, do you mean like the guide? Like you got the Ender 3 and the eSun and sort of followed that template?
Kind of. I mean, I haven't done all of the upgrades that they suggest, but I saw their guide and they recommended the Ender 3 for beginners, and I was like, okay, well, we can start with that. It's only $200. It's fine. And I really like the idea of printing a gun at home. I thought that was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, I have to do this.
So you got your printer this most recent Christmas thing?
No. I got it like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, so you've been around for a little while then.
Yeah. I got it, I think 2 years ago, 2 Christmases ago, and I did a couple of little small prints, little figures and stuff, but I never really did anything with it. It broke down on me, and I didn't get around to fixing it until the buyback happened.
Okay, fair enough.
Do you hang around in the Gatalog Rocket Chat?
No, actually, no.
Okay.
Do you follow everything on Twitter or Instagram?
I do now on Twitter, yeah. Okay. Now that I've been made aware that there's this entire community.
Yeah.
And they seem to like me, so I think I'm going to stick around.
Hell yeah. When you first got into printing, like how long after you did the final turn of the Allen wrench was it that you printed your first like lower or frame?
Oh man, years later. Like I said,
years later. Okay.
Yeah, the first couple of things that I printed were like little 3D models, little figurines and stuff that I could put on my mantle. And then the printer broke down on me at some point. It just stopped wanting to print correctly, and I just sort of let it sit, and it was collecting dust in my office. It wasn't until I found out about the buyback that I was like, I have to fix this thing now. And the first thing I printed properly, as I'll actually show it here, was a receiver for a Ruger 1022, and this is a little piece. I can actually now manipulate it in 3D space so you guys can see all of the facets.
And which 1022 is that? Is that Ivan's?
It is Ivan's, yes. This is the flat top 1022 receiver from Ivan the Troll. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool. Dude, yeah. I love the fact that you can show off 3D models like that.
Isn't this cool?
Does it you import an STL?
Yeah. I just drag and drop it from my desktop onto the game, and it imports it automatically. So I can
That
actually
is
enlarge
so
it so you can
sick.
see all the details. It's really, really cool.
That is crazy.
I know, isn't it
Dude.
sick? The future is now.
Yeah, I mean, actually, though, dude, we're talking about 3D printing guns while showing it off in VR, man.
I know, it's the coolest thing ever.
Okay. Is this your first gun buyback you had attended?
Yes, the very first one.
And what made you want to go to this?
I saw the flyer and I realized the grave mistake that Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York State, made. If you pull up the file I sent you, the flyer that Rob Romano posted, I can pull it up right here so I can look at it. I was reading it, and then I get back to the oh, is this the wrong one? This might be the wrong one. Anyway, the original flyer. I'll pull down the one that she posted. If you notice, it mentioned that there was an additional bounty for ghost guns, and I was like, oh, so she just wants me to show up with a bunch of ghost guns, and she'll pay me a bunch of money. Cool.
Okay.
And I did the math, and I figured out how much I could print, in X amount of time. I had like 3 weeks where the printer was running nonstop.
Jeez.
So
Yeah.
The additional $100 gift card, it doesn't make a lot of it incentivizes normal people just to file off their serial numbers. I don't get why you would do that.
The only reason I showed up is because she put the bounty on there. Letitia James cried out and I responded. That's how are you going to put an extra $100 bounty on this and not expect people to show up? Come on.
So what was your game plan with regard to, optimizing which items you print in order to maximize payout?
Right? I had 3 different if you pull up the picture of the display bag, I had 3 different receivers that I was bringing with me. So the 1022, obviously, that I already showed off. The Anderson Wildfire, I just printed the biggest section because I figured they're not going to care. Which technically, this isn't a complete lower because it's missing a bunch of extra parts. And then the Deterrence Dispense Model 43. These were the 3 that I was going for. The problem was this and this each take like 4 to 8 hours to print on the settings I was using, but I could print 5 of these in a day. So I was like, okay, I'm going to print a bunch of these, a couple of these, and I'll be fine. The initial target number was 55 receivers total, was my initial plan. I was going to show up with 55 total, and I was going to walk out with like 15 grand, right? If they gave me full price. The funny little, let me grab it. Oh, it's right there. This little thing was an afterthought. I did not initially think that this was a good idea until I remembered that these little things are considered machine guns.
Yeah. So for viewers at home, if you don't know what that is a Yankee Boogle. And what that is it's a drop-in auto sear for AR platform rifles. So if you have an AR platform rifle and you print one of those, which you shouldn't do because it's an NFA item.
You definitely shouldn't put it right here in the fire control group. You definitely should not do that.
That's what you should not do.
No, you should definitely not do that because then it will make your AR full auto, and that's a felony. Actually, the fun part is even possessing one of these is 10 years.
How many of those did you end up printing?
I had 30 originally. If you look at the picture of the bag with the auto sears, there are 2 colors in there, blue and purple. So the purple ones originally were the only ones I had. I had 30 of them, and I figured, okay, if none of these work, maybe this will work, and I'll walk away with a couple $1,000. And then right at the end, I had a problem printing some of these. I was printing the last batch of these and I had a problem. And at the last minute, I just decided, let me print another 30 of these things and see if it works. Right. So I had 60 of them total in 2 different colors.
When you were slicing these guys, were you just like arranging 15, 30 of them on a bed and just going down?
Yes. I would see what position I had to set these things in. I would set them down like this on their side, and I would just move them around the table.
Oh, Kira doesn't have a fill the bed. with part?
No. I had to duplicate.
Try
them 'cause-
Prusa's slicer.
Oh yeah. Well,
It'll
that's
do
what
it
I get
for
for
you.
using Cura, I guess. But I had to duplicate the parts and then move them around, which was so tedious. It was the most. It gave me a headache every time I had to do it.
It's like the things I do for love, Jamie Lannister pushing the kid out the window,
I
but
know,
the things
right?
I do for tree supports.
Hey, don't spoil it. I haven't finished Game of Thrones. Don't spoil it. I just started watching that. Don't spoil it.
It's in the first episode. It's the final scene in the first episode.
Oh goodness.
I no Game of Thrones spoilers on Out of Battery. We spoiler free zone.
Yeah, spoiler for exactly. Oh man, no, it was really funny. I did realize as I was loading up my car, I was like, wait, owning one of these is 10 years in prison, and I have 60 of them. Yeah. I better not speed at all from here to Utica, because if I get pulled over, I'm screwed.
Gonna set records one way or another, huh?
Yeah, well, you go big or go home, right?
That's right.
When you were in line, I don't want to spoil the story or skip ahead too much, but how much fear is going on at that point?
So I didn't even get in line. I might as well just start, because this is
okay.
Oh god. Okay, I left my house at about 2 a.m. Because I live very far from Utica, New York. I live 6 hours away. I got to the parking lot and I parked way off to the side. I was like, I need to be as far away from these people as possible with a clear line of sight to the exit, because if these guys start messing with me, I'm leaving. So I parked way off to the side, and as soon as I get out of my car, I noticed that there's this gentleman walking towards me. I didn't get his name or his rank or anything, but I knew he was some sort of high-level administrative officer. He was high up in the police department. So he walks up to me, and I've got the tote bag, if you have the picture of the tote bag, just full. I have the tote, and I'm walking over, and he tells me, "Hey, are you here for the gun buyback?" And I'm like, yeah, that's this is where it is. And he's like, yeah, we're with the police, and we're just waiting for everybody to arrive. How many guns do you have? And I said 110, because I had 56 of these, 2 of these, so 60 total. 50. I lost count. I had a shit ton. Anyway,
I think you said 56, so that would bring you to 60 of those at the bottom.
Okay, so sorry, I had 46 of these. 46.
46. Okay, so
2, 60.
Okay, so 110
I had
total.
110 total, yeah. 50 of the regular receivers and 60 of the auto series. And he looks at me. He doubles back and he's like, 110. And I said, yeah, 110. He's like, okay, you need to go talk to this other guy. And so he walks me over to the guy that I later learned was the chief of police for the Utica PD. And he comes over, he's like, hey, how's it going? I shook his hand. Hey, good to see you. Thanks for coming by. You said you had how many guns? I said 110. And he said, oh God. And they're all ghost guns, right? And I said, yes. And he's like, oh, okay. Well, that's going to wipe me out for the day. I don't think we're going to be able to accommodate the budget. Do me a favor. Let's walk over here. And he walked me back to my car, and I set the tote down and I start pulling out the bags for him because he wanted to take a look at them. And then at the bottom of the bag, as here are these receivers and those receivers and that frame and whatever. And then I pull up the bag of the auto series. This is a bag with 60 lightning links, auto series for AR-15s. And his eyes, I swear, wide as dinner plates, as wide as these glasses. He froze. And he said, oh yeah, I know what those are. I need to go make a phone call. I'll be right back. He gets back into his cruiser, and he goes and makes a phone call. What I learned later, by his own admission, is that he got into a conference call with the Utica PD, the city's board of directors, the AG's office, all of their lawyers, plus an external private law firm, and the ATF. This guy spent the next 4 hours in conference calls between negotiations with me and calls with them, because they had no idea what they were going to do with me. And this is all before the buybacks even started formally. So I arrived 15 minutes early. So the mobile command center rolls up and they start setting up tables and stuff. You can see in the picture of them turning it in with the guy with the red shirt and the boxes in front of him. They had foldable tables there and they were processing. And so the chief comes back and we start talking. He's like, okay, well, let me get a total for what you've got here. And I broke it all down for him. I told him I got this many receivers for this gun, this many receivers for that gun, this many receivers for that gun, and then I've got these auto sears. And told me, okay, write down the price, how much you want for them. And I went by the guide. Right? I said, I've got non-working antique guns. I've got 50 of them, right? But they're each $100 plus. So each of these was worth $125. Each of these, $125. Each of these, $125, right? And then I said, and I've also got 60 of these machine guns because legally they're machine guns. And I want $350 for each of them. Okay. And I wrote down the total because the total for all of the frames combined at full price was like $7,500. The auto sears alone were $21,000, and I did not think for a second that they were going to buy them. And oh boy, was I wrong. So the next several hours, I don't talk to anyone. They have me standing by my car in the hot New York sun, just watching everybody else get processed. There are a couple of other characters in this story that I should mention now. There was Mr. 30. I call him Mr. 30 because the chief of police mentioned that he had also shown up with 30 other ghost guns. He showed up with 30 harlots, which are the same kind of guns that Ricky showed up with later. He showed up with 30 of those. I learned later because I didn't actually get a look at them. I spoke to the guy later after he got processed. And there were two other guys who showed up, not Ricky and his buddy, but two other just random guys who showed up with a bunch of other incomplete frames like this for Glocks and stuff. And then there was just a bunch of regular people showing up with normal guns getting processed. There was a line, and I waited in the hot sun for 4 hours for the event to be over. Because
so
they
did Mr. 30 and Ricky, did either of them need to be pulled off with you because they also had a inconceivable number of firearms as well?
So,
or
no,
was
Ricky,
it just you?
Ricky and his buddy, and then Mr. 30 and the other two guys were all in the general area, but nobody was speaking to them. They were just all waiting by their cars. Ricky hadn't shown up yet. Ricky showed up way later. But Mr. 30 and the other two guys, and this other guy, Colin, that I guess couldn't make it. Colin had already been there when I showed up. He'd already been there. He was talking with the chief, basically about the same thing. He brought a bunch of these as well. No, they were just sitting. I was the only one who was sort of far apart because I was scared. And then Colin eventually moved his car over to me, and we just started chatting up. But I sat there for 4 hours before anybody really came and talked to me. And it wasn't until the event was dying down that the chief came over and started actually negotiating with us. And that is where the bullshit starts. It was just unbelievable. Any questions so far?
So, wait, let me just double back here
Sure.
a second. So this is the auto sears. These are not all, but several of the 1022 frames. Okay.
Yeah.
I just want to see. So are these harlots Mr. 30s?
No, those are Ricky's. Ricky brought
Ricky's. Okay.
Yeah, but he hasn't shown up yet.
Okay.
Yeah. So we get to the negotiations. And this is where stuff starts getting very weird. The chief of police walks up to me with 4 other officers. You see the officer in the picture where they're turning in the Ricky's turning in his stuff. This guy in the red shirt was one of 4 officers that were surrounding the chief when he came and talked to me. There were these big buff guys, all they had guns on their hips. Some of them had badges on their necks. They were trying to intimidate us, for sure. And this is something that he had not done for anyone else. Like all of the other guys, when they got spoken to and negotiated with, it was just the chief and maybe one other officer flanking him. They brought out the big guns for me and for Colin, because we had apparently the most. So he comes to me and he basically tells me, we just got off the phone with all our liaisons, and this is several hours later after I've arrived. And he points at these frames and he's like, these are worthless. We don't want them. The ATF tells us that they're not firearms, and so we don't have to worry about them. The Sears, yeah, no, straight up. He told me
I'll take him outside and dump him out.
Yeah, the ATF told me that these are not firearms, and I don't have to worry about them. But I know you've come a long way, because the guy had seen my inspection sticker and knew I was out of state. He knew I was from out of state. I know you drove a long way, and I don't want to see you leave here with nothing, right? So I definitely can't give you the 125 because they're not real firearms. They're just hunks of plastic. We don't want them. But I'm willing to offer you $40 for each of them. The auto sears, on the other hand, the ATF actually does want. So I need you to think of a price that's under $21,000, because that's my limit, that will sit right with you for everything. And I'm kind of sitting there like, okay, this I didn't expect, right? I had documents printed out, highlighted of the ATF, where the decisions were, because I thought that the cops are going to tell me these aren't real firearms, right? We don't think this is a firearm. But he's now telling me the ATF is saying that these are not firearms. And I'm like, that's really strange. So he walks off and goes and talks to Colin. And this is where the bullshittery starts. He goes and tells Colin that I agreed to take these in for $25 each, and that he should take the deal too, because they're not going to offer him any more money than that. So already they've lied to Colin, and they've lied to me about the nature of these things. And so I turn around and I'm looking, because Colin's sitting behind me at his car, like two spaces over, and I'm hearing this conversation happening. And meanwhile, the officers are sort of forming a line between me and him. And I'm like, oh, this is not good. And so Colin's just sitting there like, okay, I mean, I guess, right? And we had been like sort of chatting back and forth, but we hadn't really been talking about what we're doing. And it wasn't until the chief of police starts to walk off towards the other two dudes that had arrived earlier, that I stop him. And I was like, wait a minute. So you're telling me the ATF told you that these aren't firearms? And he's like, yeah, we have a liaison with the ATF that we have on call when we do these events to make sure that what we're doing is correct. And when we have to file special paperwork, they give us clearance on stuff. And I said, okay. And I pulled out one of the printed documents, and I told him, these are firearms. The ATF has considered them firearms. Like, this is their decision. And he says, yeah, well, you asked 30 different people and you're going to get 30 different opinions. So I understand that this is your opinion. And I said, no. This is federal law. Like, the ATF has decided this. And he's like, I understand that that's how you see this, but, we think differently. And I said, okay, cool. But this is federal law. Like, this supersedes everything. And he's like, well, we spoke to our lawyers and we had these conversations, and, we're in our determinations and considering that state law, supersedes federal law. This is what we're going to do. And I was like, what? This guy is now speaking out of his ass. I'm saying, what the fuck is going on here? This guy 100% is lying to me, like through his teeth, because you and I both know, all of you guys here, come on, number one, these are firearms. The ATF has said so. Number two, state law does not supersede federal law, and none of this is an opinion. These are all statements of fact based in real case law, right? And the chief of police of the Utica Police Department is now telling me the exact back opposite. Like, it's bewildering, right? And he's just like, think on those numbers I gave you and I'll come back and talk to you. And I'm just standing there like, what just happened? This was not in my book. This was not in my plan. I was not expecting these guys to speak to me like this. I was not expecting them to say these things.
Yeah.
So I turned to Colin, and Colin, he's like, what just happened? And I was like, exactly. What did they tell you? And he tells me what I just told you. And I said, no, they offered me 40, and I didn't agree to it. I haven't agreed to anything. And he's like, oh shit. And in that moment I realized they're playing us against each other to try to scam us. And he's like, dude, we have to like get a plan here, because if we're not organized, like, and I was like, yeah, no, you're right. So we started comparing notes about what we had and all of our, we pulled out the flyers, and I had all of my documents, and we were like, okay, this is our position. This is how much we're offering. If they're not giving us full price, we're not giving them anything, right? And that was the plan. So they go and talk to the other guys, and they go and talk to Mr. 30, and then they go back and do some paperwork. At this point, Ricky shows up. Ricky and his buddy show up. And they get two officers who come over and ask them what they've got, and they're like, oh, we've got these harlots. And like, okay, cool. And so the officer goes and reports that, and then the chief comes back, talks to them, and there's a little bit of back and forth there. And then nothing for like 2 hours, right? Everything is sort of starting to simmer down. People are stopping by less and less. By the way, did you find the pictures that the police department posted of the actual, like, what they hauled in?
No, here
there is a P08 Luger and an SKS on that table.
Okay, wait. Let me see if I can pull them up.
Because I saw those coming in, dude, and my heart broke. My heart broke. I saw that SKS come in. Oh my god. The just, how could you do this?
Did you find it, Cape? I've got it if you don't.
So while you guys are doing that, I'm gonna start.
You're muted, Cape.
I wasn't saying anything. Did you hear me before? I was just saying that I didn't find it yet, so you should bring it up.
Okay. Oh, one monitor's gonna suck.
Floating Yankee boot just hanging
well,
out there.
I want to make sure it's like visible. I've got a mirror frame in front of me, so I can see what's going on, and I just want to make sure that it's visible to the camera.
I am not overwhelmingly familiar with New York state law. Is in New York, are 3D printed unserialized firearms explicitly illegal?
I do believe they have laws against ghost guns. Yes.
Okay. Is it?
I'm not sure if it's the production or the manufacture or the ownership of them that's particularly illegal, but it is like a thing that they're illegal.
Okay.
I'm not an expert on New York state law, though, so I don't know.
Damn, dude.
I've heard through the grapevine, though, that these things particularly are very bad in New York.
Yeah. Wait, scroll back up a bit.
Yeah, okay, there. If you look at the picture of the pistols, there is a Luger in that picture.
That is heartbreaking. Man.
It's heartbreaking. It's heart-wrenching. I thought the ARs were bad when they came in. When I saw that, dude, my heart dropped. I wanted to scream so many things in that moment, but I knew that the moment I piped up, they would kick me out. I know how New York is with gun buybacks. I didn't want to risk it, but oh my god, that I just want to scream. How? It's a relic. It's a relic. It belongs in a museum, not in the hands of the Utica Police Department. God only knows that they're gonna tear it down and dismantle it and destroy it, or steal it. I've heard that they've done that before. I've heard that police in New York State, when they do the buyback, sometimes they'll find the nicer pieces and keep them.
The good news is, less so for the Luger, but every gun part and a lot of these like parts kit manufacturers,
gunbusters,
gunbusters that are like feeding the 3D printed parts community desire for parts kits. They are getting a lot of them from buybacks. So less so the Luger, but there's a silver lining that when people bring these things in. They are sort of being handed right back to people in our sphere that are going to print them.
Right.
How many
right,
bodies are on your slide, Kate?
What was that?
I said, how many bodies are on your slide, Kate?
Are we allowed to discuss this?
Well, there's always that potential. I saw that in some conversation a couple days ago. Like realistically, some of these parts we're buying are taken apart. They're sold back to gun busters. You know, there has to be odds that these guns have been used in all kinds of things. At least the parts we end up with. So
yeah, maybe.
carry on with your story. I'm trying to keep my mouth closed because
no, you're fine. You're fine. So as things start winding down, we start entering the sort of hard negotiation where the chief comes back with his posse and basically says, so, you know, what's the deal? And I said, okay, well, if you're not going to give me full price like you promised, because of course this is based on the promise of the flyer. If you're not giving me full price, I'm not giving them to you. I'm not so much concerned about the money as I am concerned about the principle of the thing. These are firearms, but if you don't want them, that's fine. You don't have to have them. The auto steers, on the other hand, you seem to want kind of desperately. And he's like, yeah, you know, I kind of do. And I said, okay. Well, then my number is, I want what was promised, which is $21,000, $350 each. And he said, and you're not budging on that. And I said, I'm not budging on that. So if you want them, that's the price. And he's like, okay. And then he starts getting into this hemming and hawing about, well, you know, it's we're kind of running out of gift cards and we're not sure if we're going to be able to accommodate this. And, you know, there are other people who we need to process and give gift cards to. And I said, I don't care. You want the series.
I take cash as well.
Yeah. And then he starts saying, you know, okay, well, what would the, you know, because this is a lot of money and what would the best way to get you this money? And I said, I will take anything at this point. Gift cards, cash, check, Bitcoin, I will take anything. And, you know, when I said Bitcoin, a bunch of the other cops laughed. And he said, well, we might be able to cut you a check and I might be able to mail it to you and this and that. And I said, okay, I mean, that's fine. I'm willing to do that. And he sort of looks at me like he didn't expect me to react positively to that. He's like, okay, well, you know, I know you came in for, you know, how long are you in Utica? And I said, as long as you need me to be. He's like, okay, because we could take you down to the office in Utica, but it's like an hour from here. And, you know, you might have to sit for a little bit while we write you the check. And I said, I don't care. I'm cool, man. I can be here as long as you need me to be. And he's like, oh, you know, hemming and hawing. And then he's like, okay, well, we'll discuss it in a minute. Let me go talk to Colin. And he goes over and talks to Colin, and Colin is ready. He's like, I've changed my mind. I want full price. And it's like, but we agreed. It's like, I don't care. You lied to me. You're not picking his stuff up for $40, so you're giving me full price. And then there's a back and forth that I didn't catch 100% of. And basically, he cited some number. It ended up being close to $5,000 that Colin made out with. But they get the number, and then they go down and they talk to Ricky. And we weren't present for that conversation. But right after the chief leaves him and goes and talks to Mr. 30, we go in and start talking to Ricky. And we go over and we say, hey, what's going on? What did they tell you? And it's like, oh, you know, we're about to get processed. We're getting full price for them. We're getting like $6,000. And I said, okay, cool. So we come back and we wait again. Chief comes back and he says, okay, we might be able to mail you a check, this and that. He said $21,000. You know, you guys are lucky because you know, we just got done talking to those guys, and he finished it and he points to Ricky. And we only give them half price. So you guys are lucky. I was like, half price? That's not what they told us, you know? He's like, oh, well, you know, this and that, hemming and hawing. And he walks over to Colin, they finalize everything, and he goes back. And now we're approaching like 3:00. So I got there at 9:45, and it's now 3. And there is not a gift card in sight, right? None of the 3D printed guys have gotten anything. Another 45 minutes passes, and the chief sort of signals to Mr. 30, and Mr. 30 comes down with his box. They process all of his stuff. He gets his gift cards and leaves. So one of us has officially gotten paid at this point. And so I'm looking at Colin. I was like, okay, this is a good omen, right? Because it means that they're actually paying us. They're actually starting to pay out for the 3D printed stuff. They're not going to flake. The two other dudes, not Ricky, but the other two dudes, get signaled like 10 minutes later. They get processed, they get their gift cards, and they leave. You'll notice the box of gift cards that I sent you, not the ones that I had, but the box of the red and white gift cards. Those were the gift cards that they were giving out. They were all individually wrapped, and they all had individual, amounts on them, and that's what they were giving out to everyone else. Okay. 30 minutes later, they go and talk to Ricky. I guess they finalize the price. They grab their box, go back to the table, and that's when they turn them in. They get processed. They get paid, and we flag them down. How much did they give you? Oh, they gave us full price, like $6,000. Okay, cool. They get in their car and leave. Right before they leave, we tell them, hey, we're still sitting here. Why don't you guys hang out? And they're like, we need to go get gas, and we're kind of hungry. But as soon as we're done, we'll come back. And we said, okay, cool. And so we're sitting there, me and Colin, as we see the officers start packing everything up, right? They're packing up. They're getting all of the guns moved into the mobile command center. And the chief of police comes back, and this is like the final negotiation. And he said, okay, so we can't write you the check. And I said, why can't you write me the check? He says, well, because you would have to give us your legal name because we can't write the check out to cash. And I said, I don't care. I'll give you my legal name. And he stands there like he, again, wasn't expecting me to react positively to that. And he was like, well, it's an amnesty program. And I said, okay, if you can extend amnesty to the office, I will give you my legal name, right? I don't care. I want the money at this point. You promised me the money. I want the money. Okay, cool. So there's some hemming and hawing. And then he's like, okay, well, let me make a phone call. And he goes back to the budget lady. I haven't mentioned her yet, but she's one of the ones that's sitting at the table, and she's in charge of the budget. And the reality of the situation was that they physically didn't have enough money in the budget for the program to accommodate this amount of volume, which they mentioned a couple times. But budget was very unhappy because by the time they had processed all of the regular people, Mr. 30, the two other guys, Ricky and his boy, they were out of money. They were out of money. They had nothing left. There was not a single gift card left. And so he comes back and basically tells me, we're out of gift cards. I can't write you the check because it's over the limit. And I would need permission from Albany to get this check. And I was like, okay, how far is Albany from here? Oh, it's like 3 hours. I don't care. Let's do it. And he's like, no, because I would need to get permission and the office is closed and this and that. It's after hours. And I was like, okay, so why can't you write me the check here in Utica? Oh, because it's over the limit. I can only write you a check for $15,000, not the full 21. I can write it right now for 15. I just have to go into the office. And I was like, no, you promised me 21. I want 21. Let's go to Albany, right? He's like, no, we can't do that because the office is closed and we don't have a printer. And I was like, you're joking, right? He's like, no. I might be able to mail you one later. And I said, okay, that's fine. I will give you my address and you can mail it to me. I want a document with your letterhead on it and your signature that you agree to pay me X amount of money via check mailed to this address by X date. And he said, oh, well, I can give you my business card and my email. No. I want a document with your letterhead and your signature. Something that I can later take to court if you don't pay me and hold you accountable with. Because I'm not doing this, I'll pay you later and then it never shows up, right? You want the Sears, I need the money. And Colin at this point overhears it and said, you should get it notarized too. And I said, yeah, I want a notarized. The guy kind of looks at Colin and he's like, you're not helping. And he says to me, and he's like, well, good luck finding a notary. I was like, there's a library somewhere here, right? And the other officers start getting pissed. Like they're not happy with this. And the guy's seriously frustrated with me. And he's like, well, let me see if we can get you the gift cards, right? Walks over to Colin. They talk. They agree with the gift cards. They tell him basically the same thing. We don't have the gift cards. We're going to have to go get them. And they're like, okay, well, where are you going to go get them from? It's like, oh, there's grocery stores here. It's just a lot of them. So we have to make sure. Unbeknownst to us at the moment, one of those conference calls was to the AG's office to ask them if they could up their credit limit for the program. And they had to do this twice because they didn't have enough money to cover everyone plus us fucking idiots who showed up. with all of these 3D printed guns. It was ridiculous. So everything starts getting packed up, and they're finishing packing the mobile command center. And then the chief comes back one last time, and he comes over and he says, "Okay, I'm gonna get some guys to help me. We're gonna go get the gift cards. We have to pack everything up, but we will be back, right? We will be back. We're not gonna leave you guys here without your money." And I said, "Okay, how long is it gonna be for you to come back?" And he's like, "Oh, it'll be like half an hour." And I said, "Half an hour from you leaving here?" And he's like, "Oh no, well, I have to go. By the time we're done, it'll be half an hour." I said, "Okay, whatever, man. Take your time, right? I don't want to hear your nonsense anymore. Just we'll be here. We're not going anywhere. That's fine." And so at this point, me and Colin have both realized what's going on. They really don't want me walking out with these. This would get the chief of Utica Police's head put on a pike. Like this is bad. This if I left that parking lot with 60 of these in my hand, there would be a manhunt in Utica automatically, because this is 600 years in federal prison, right? This is bad. But because I've walked onto an amnesty program, as long as I'm in that perimeter of that parking lot, they can't do shit to me. I know that they want them. They know that I want the money. And they know that the only way that they're going to get these is if they give me the money. So I sat there perfectly fine. I'm just chilling in my car, sweating my ass off because it was hot as hell that day. And we sat there for a good hour and a half before they come back.
Damn.
Yeah, man. They come back. Another ununiformed officer comes back with the chief. And get a load of this, right? So we don't have the gift cards. And I said, "You don't have the gift cards. Why?" It's like, "Well, the amount that we're buying, $21,000, is over the legal limit when it comes to bank movements. And so we're getting audit flags left and right on all of our bank accounts trying to buy these cards. And so now we're needing to put in social security numbers, and it's just this whole mess."
Oh
and I
my
said,
God.
"I don't care, man. I'm willing to wait here as long as you need me to." And he puts this face on like he's just fucking sick of me. And he's like, "Well, I have to even check with the central office if we can get the gift cards. Are you sure I can't just cut you a check for $15,000? And I said, "No, I want the full amount because that's what you promised me." He said, okay. And he gets on the phone. And I assume that everything from here on out is scripted, right? Because he's talking very loudly, and he's got this lady from the budget on speakerphone. And they're talking about, well, do we really want to be, giving the social security numbers of our officers over to the grocery stores? And can we do this? And is it okay? Are we bothering these officers? He's trying to guilt trip me, right? I'm just sitting there like, I don't give a shit, man. Mobilize the entire police department, which I later learned they did. They had to call in a bunch of officers off duty to go to different grocery stores and pick up a total of 50 of these gift cards. It was really funny.
That's amazing.
No, it was wild. And so, he's sitting on the, okay, well, call me back as soon as you figure it out, right? And so we're just waiting there 15 minutes for him to get the call back. He's like, "Oh, I'm really sorry. It's just we had to get all these people, and we have to spend all this time." And I said, "Cool, man. I appreciate it. Really appreciate it. I'm glad you guys are putting in some work today. I hope you're getting paid overtime." And the guy just glares at me, and he's just not happy with this at all. So he finally gets that call back. It's like, "Hello? Okay. Oh, so we can get the gift cards." And he's looking straight at me, right? "We can get the gift cards. Okay, good. I'm on my way." And so he's like, "Okay, we'll be right back. It'll be another 45 minutes. He lied. It was another hour, almost an hour and a half.
What time is it at this point?
Oh, it's almost 5. By the time he comes back finally with the gift cards, it's 5:30.
Okay.
Yeah, no, it was bad, dude. I lost track of time. I was sleep deprived. I honestly, I only know that when he came back with the gift cards, I was nearly passed out of sleep deprivation in the front seat of my car. And by the time we left, it was 5:30, 5:45, almost 6. And so finally they come back, and it's the chief of police plus the other guy who had complained that he had to go pick his daughter up from school, and the lady from the budget department. And the lady from the budget department is holding this huge stack. and you can see is that picture of the spread out in a stack of gift cards, Visa and MasterCard. And she comes over. She's like, "Hey, sorry to make you guys wait. You know, we had a bunch of officers in line, and it just took them a long time to get all of these done." And the chief goes, "Yeah, we had to call a couple of them off duty. Oh yeah, we had to call that one guy in from a family picnic." And I was like, "Oh man, I'm super happy that you guys are mobilizing the police department for us. We really appreciate it. I'm glad that the tax dollars are getting put to work." And this lady from the budget is shooting knives at me with her eyes. She is already way past the time that she was told that she was going to have to work that day. And now she's giving these gift cards over to some punk kid who found a loophole in their system. And now has cost the police department $21,000 plus $6 each for activating each of those cards. So you do the math, there's like 50 of them. It's wild. And so she goes to hand me the cards, and one of the other officers goes to get the bag of Sears from me. And I said, would you count them for me? Just count them out. He's like, "Oh, yeah, of course. And she goes at 1, 2, and she's counting. Each of them had $500 on them. And so 41, 42. There you go. I said, "Oh, thank you so much. You have been so kind. Here you go. Here are the Sears. Thank you very." I took the gift cards first. I took the gift cards, and then I handed them the Sears. "Thank you very much, guys. I appreciate doing business with you. We're going to head out." And Ricky and his boy are fucking just dying of laughter. Colin's in the back snickering. He gets his gift cards. We all go, these guys go back. "Okay, bye, whatever." And then we start talking, after we had compared notes and all of this bullshit. And we're like, "Oh man, I'm really hungry. You guys want to go get some food?" "Yeah, man, let's go to Texas Roadhouse." So we went to Texas Roadhouse. I got the biggest steak I could buy. I was happy. I was happy that day. I didn't want to drive the full 6 hours back because I was exhausted. I honestly didn't think I was going to be there that long. It was now, by the time we got out of Texas, it was like almost 7. I went and stayed at a Marriott, and I was just like, I was happy. It was the wildest experience I ever had.
God, that's incredible.
Yeah,
that
man.
is like the greatest wealth transfer ever.
At a gun buyback, yeah, probably.
Yeah, crazy.
Oh man.
So
I don't do the story justice.
Total...
Man. You guys should have been there. It was hilarious.
How do you, if you had to guess, how much total filament cost was it for this whole experiment?
So I used it was 2 3/4 of a spool. So it's like 2 3/4 of a kilogram total.
Damn,
and by the way, I still have all of the 1022s because they didn't buy them. I just took them home. They're still sitting in here, in my house. I printed all of those out, and it was 2 3/4 of a spool.
$21 of filament for $21,000 in gift cards.
Yep.
Eat your heart out, Bitcoin.
Oh God. So
bro, I'm sorry, but there's a new king in town, man.
What are you gonna buy with that? Are you gonna upgrade your printer, buy real guns, anything
okay, so
relevant to gun
You're gonna laugh. I've done both of those things.
Okay.
I bought some new leveling springs because the one thing about the Ender 3 is that it just doesn't hold its level ever.
Yeah.
So I bought new leveling springs, which are cheap. I had to pay back a debt to somebody who helped me out a couple years back. So an amount of money just immediately out the window. I want to buy a new car because I drove up and back in my little beat up Acura Integra. And it's just on its last legs, and it's going to die any day now. The problem is the money's stuck in the gift card. So we have to liquidate them first. And the liquidation part is really, really hard because they're set up in such a way that you can't use them at ATMs, and you can't put them in your PayPal, and you can't Cash App it or Venmo it to someone else. It's really weird. So most of the money is still stuck in the gift cards. I haven't used all of it. I bought 2 guns. I bought an AR and a new long gun and a bunch of ammo. But other than that, and a new VR headset that hasn't arrived yet. But other than that, I haven't made any big purchases. Everything has been under $500 so far.
Okay. But that rocks.
That's crazy.
It was a wild day, and I'm really happy that it happened. A couple days later, I quit my job. I took my mom on vacation immediately afterwards. We went down to Central Virginia. It was a lot of fun. If you guys check on my Twitter, there's a video of me shooting a musket. I did that in Central Virginia. That was a lot of fun. The kind of thing that I would not have been able to afford regularly. That I was just like, yeah, I'm going to splurge just this once, and actually have fun on vacation for once and not worry about money. I took my mother on that really nice vacation, and she was really happy about it. She didn't think it was going to work. She called me when I was done, when I told her I was finally done, and she was like, "So what happened?" I was like, "Mom, the gift cards, they're here." And she's like, I swore up and down to your grandmother and to your sister that it was not going to work. That you were going to drive up there and come back empty-handed. But Jesus Christ, did you prove me wrong? And we were laughing on the phone, and I was like, "No, don't worry, Mom. We're going on vacation. It's going to be fine." But most of the money's just sitting here on my desk in gift cards because I can't do anything with them. Not right now anyway. We've got a couple of things that we're trying to do. We're trying to see if a liquidation method works out because we've tried several things at this point. And one of them seems to be working so far. And if it turns out that it actually does work, we'll be able to pull the rest of the money out, and then I can actually go and buy that car.
Okay.
You go buy a whole bunch of scratch-off tickets with that.
Don't do that.
No,
Don't
no,
fucking
no.
do that.
No. Listen, I was
Don't
stupid
get
enough
into
to
my
show
bad
up.
financial decisions bit.
I was stupid enough to show up with a bag that could have put me away for 600 years. I'm not buying off scratch-off tickets. Okay?
He's going to get the jackpot with the first ticket he buys.
That's true.
No. I used up all of my luck on this one, guys. I've got none left.
That's amazing.
Maybe next year.
Yeah. One question, totally unrelated, but we have to ask because it's the name of the show. Have you ever had an out of battery?
Out of battery. I'm not sure 100% what kind of failure that is. I'm not a gun expert.
When the face of the bolt is not like fully forward when there's a detonation.
No, I don't think I've ever had one of those. No.
Okay.
I don't shoot my guns very often though, so maybe one of these.
I'm right there with you, bro. I own at least one gun that I've never shot, which is embarrassing.
Oh man, I own 4 now, and finally I get to shoot them because I can finally afford ammo.
Hell yeah, dude!
Because word to the wise, working for Amazon doesn't get you gun money.
Do they really make you pee in a bottle while you're driving around in your truck?
They don't make you, but I've heard some stories of people who have had to do it because there are
encourage it.
Around. I can't speak for the DSP that hired me, because honestly we were pretty good, but I've heard some stories about some other DSPs that were operating around our same warehouse. That
what is a DSP?
A delivery service partner. Sorry, okay. Amazon subcontracts their deliveries to other smaller companies. That then, so I wore their uniform and I drove their trucks and delivered their packages, but they didn't cut my checks. I was hired by a logistics company that handled that for Amazon. So other companies I heard kind of do encourage that, but ours never did. Never, not once.
Dude, that was about as crazy of a chain of events as I could have hoped for in this story, man. That legitimately wild.
The satisfaction of knowing that a bunch of Utica Police Department officers raided every grocery store in Utica to finally get me my gift cards. All of these gift cards.
We need everybody now. We got to buy these machine guns now.
And to know that it was a bunch of 3D printed trash because it's all printed at 10% infill. It doesn't work. If you dropped any of those into an AR, it would explode instantly and probably jam the gun up with a bunch of little plastic pieces. No, it was garbage. It's plastic garbage. And they purchased it for $21,000. Oh my
Man.
god. Oh my
Oh.
god.
So that's probably it for the interview. So I just want to thank you for coming out. Thank you for coming on the show and
Thank you so
sharing
much
this
for having me.
crazy story with us, man.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate you guys letting me tell the story because it's wild.
Hell
I
yeah.
appreciate getting to hear it. That was amazing. Epic. Holy
I hope
shit.
I
You're a
hope I did all
legend,
the
man.
Twitter hype justice, guys. Because
Yeah, you're a legend, dude.
100%. Actually a legend, dude.
Yeah, really.
You flatter me. You flatter me. I did my civic duty, what any other law-abiding citizen would have done if given the same opportunities and conditions.
Well, that's it for this episode. Thank you guys for watching and have a great rest of your day. Hell yeah, dude.